Good morning, everybody. I think today is 25th of September. 24th. 24th?
Oh no, 25th. Sorry.
You confused me. Eh? 5. Okay. 25th of September, year 2007. So we continue our Sutta study. And today we are going to discuss Sabbasava Sutta that has been translated into English as all the Taints. This discourse was delivered by the Buddha when he was in Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. Is anybody here who does not know who Anathapindika is? Anybody? Everybody knows who he is. You don't know? You don't know? Okay. Briefly speaking, Anathapindika was one of the most generous benefactors of the Buddha. And he built this monastery on Jeta's grove. Jeta was a prince. When he offered to buy the property, he refused to sell. He said, even if you pave the whole ground with gold, I would not sell it. Then this man said, well, you have already fixed the price. You already gave me the price. That is, to cover the whole land with gold coins. So he straight away began to bring a truck or cart loads of gold coins and started paving. And he went on paving. This prince thought, gee, this man seems to be real serious. He waited until 3/4 of the land was covered with gold. Then he said, my goodness, he must be very rich and very generous. He really means what he said. Then he was so impressed with his generosity, and he said, enough. I give the other quarter free. So he gave that quarter and spent the same amount of money to build the monastery. It means, in today's terms, $55 billion. For 1,000 monks and Buddha to live. Anyway, that is where Buddha spent 20 verses teaching Dhamma. 25? 25 verses, you are right. 25 verses.
Is it still there?
The foundations and ruins are still there, and people still visit that place. It's a wonderful place.
Is it still covered with gold?
Unfortunately, people are not that honest to keep the gold there. So
the gold is its vibrations of the place.
Yeah. Vibration is golden, really. Yeah. Then Buddha addressed bhikkhus. This is one occasion that Buddha himself volunteered to give sermon without monks asking questions. This time he said, Sabbasava pariyayango bhikkhave dhammang desemi. It means it is translated as I shall teach you a discourse on the restraint of all the taints. And the taints are listed here. in the discourse itself as we proceed with it. And also he said something very, very important here. He said, Janato aham bhikkhave pasato asavanam khayam vadami, no ajanato, no apasato, kincha bhikkhave janato, king pasato, khayo hoti, yonichocha manasikaro, ayonisocha manasikaro. Ayoniso bhikkhave manasikarato uppanna cheva asava uppajjanti, uppanna cha asava pavadhanti, yonisocho bhikkhave manasikaroto anuppanna cheva asava na uppajjanti, uppanna cha asava pahiyanti. That means, bhikkhus, I say that the destruction of the taints is for one who knows and sees, not for one who does not know and see. That is very, very, very true. What does he see and how does he see? These asavas, these taints, one must see within oneself. This discourse is very, very beautiful. It gave it just to us. Just to us. When we learn Dhamma, please remember, this is not just reading like a newspaper. Even when you read a newspaper, later on you discuss what you have read in the newspaper. This should be read much more seriously than that. And apply to ourselves, ask ourselves, do we have them? If we do not apply to ourselves, we are just wasting our time. You can say, I have read 100 books, Buddhist books. It means nothing to us. Nothing, not one iota can we get out of that. So, we must see it in ourselves and we must try to put them into practice in our own daily life. Asking these questions. So, one who sees and knows, not one who does not know and see. Who knows and sees what? Wise attention and unwise attention. When one attends unwisely, unarisen taints arise and arisen taints increases. When one attends wisely, unarisen taints do not arise, arisen taints are abandoned. So this is our training. This is how we benefit from the Buddha's teaching. We are not learning psychology or philosophy. You learn philosophy just to discuss with others and say all sort of things, spend whole day and night and you get nothing. It is just for talk. You learn philosophy just to talk. But we learn Dhamma to apply in our life. That's how we improve. That's how we approach or reach the enlightenment. Bhikkhus, there are taints that should be abandoned by seeing. We have given 7 ways of abandoning these taints. And he began with saying, seeing. That is a very important thing. Seeing and knowing. And that is number 1 of these 7. Number 1 is seeing. Dassana pahatabba. And he began the discourse with this very word. Dassana, seeing. Second is restrain, sangvara. Third is patisevana. Patisevana means using. Fourth is enduring, adhivasana. Fifth is abandoning, parivajjana. Sixth is removing, vinodana. Seventh is developing bhavana. So the word bhavana again comes here. So the first one, darsana, is the state by seeing. When we attain sotapanna stage, darsana. Sotapanna stage, we abandon 3 taints. What are they? Doubt, attachment to rites and rituals, and believing in permanent self. These are the 3 taints we remove. In that place, one is not actually a taint, but what are the taints? Kama, bhava, avijja. Kama is sensual pleasure. Actually, sensual pleasure is greed. Kama is out of 3 aspects of greeds, Buddha picked only one. What are the 3 aspects of greed? Kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. 3. He picked only one. Why? Because he was aiming at a person who attains the first level of enlightenment. And the second and third levels of enlightenment later on. But he begins with kama. He does not abandon it totally, but he is approaching there. And he did not talk about bhavasava, destroying the belief in or desire for re-existence, but he aimed only one of them, avijjasava. And even that is not totally abandoned at the attainment of the first level of enlightenment. Only very minimum, very, very basic amount of these taints are reduced at the attainment of the first level. But specifically what we destroy at the attainment of the first level are doubt, attachment to rites and rituals, and belief in permanent self. However, that attainment is attained through seeing, darsana. Then we will go through all these things later in more detail. Second is restrain. Restrain we mentioned even yesterday, restraining our senses. It's called sila. There are 5 kinds of restraints. They are mindfulness. With mindfulness we restrain. Especially when we practice mindfulness meditation, every time we become mindful, we restrain our senses. As I mentioned, when we encounter with the sensory objects, if greed, hatred and delusion arises, we don't pay attention to those objects. We just look at our mind, see how much greed, hatred and delusion arises when we encounter certain sensory stimuli. And we contemplate, meditate on our own inner greed, hatred and delusion when that particular thing arises. That is one restraint. That is called restraining our senses. And that we do with mindfulness. And then there is another kind of restraint that is called jnana samvara. Jnana means wisdom. With many people, intellectually, they understand this is not I am supposed to cultivate. This is not what I should cultivate. Intellectually, rationally, the person thinks and get rid of that particular negative mental state. For example, if I continue thinking like this, I build up this habit and I always quarrel with others, I always criticize others, I always insult others, I always pass wrong remarks. If I cultivate this, spontaneously without my awareness, all of a sudden this pops up in my mind. Therefore, let me not have this thought in my mind. For example, critical, discriminatory remarks. If appears in the mind, we immediately detect it and say, no, I should not cultivate this. If I cultivate this, without my awareness, it can come out and create very unpleasant atmosphere. So forth, intellectually, wisely, the person look at it. That is called jnana samvara, with wisdom. That's very wise for somebody to think like that. And the next is sila samvara. Sila, as I mentioned several times, is observing certain training rules. Rules are there for us to train ourselves. When we observe rules to train ourselves, during training period we make mistakes. That is why they are called training rules. We break rules when we train ourselves. That is sort of apprentices stage. We are apprentices. We are not yet professional. During apprentice period, we make mistake. That is called training period. And the rules we observe during that time are called training rules. The rules that we observe during training period are called training rules. And they are called sila samvara. We restrain ourselves with them. Fourth is virya samvara. Virya means perseverance, effort, endeavor. We deliberately make effort to restrain ourselves. And the last is khanti. Khanti means patience. Patience, as I have in my own way, I don't know how true it is, but it seems to work for me. Khanti means buying time to say, as you say in Abhiraj Kumara Sutta, Buddha has given 6 situations, and only 2 of them he observed. To tell the truth, if the truth is, even the truth is unpleasant, beneficial, doesn't hurt anybody, Buddha waits. He said, I know the time. The truth is bitter, unpleasant, but yet beneficial. So he waits. Second position he took was, if the truth is pleasant, beneficial, meaningful, and still he would wait for the proper time. Because it has to be timely, it has to be meaningful, it has to be beneficial, it must be true, and it must be pleasing to the listener. And yet, he would not utter it if the time is not right. This is called patience. Even to tell the truth, we got to buy time and wait until suitable time comes. We cannot brag later on, I gave him my mind, I gave him, I spoke to him directly and I am so upfront, I am direct and so forth, I talk. And you may brag yourself later on, but you don't know the damage you have already caused by telling even the truth very directly. So that kind of restraint is called patience. Now, last one of these 7 type of restraints is developing our mind. Those who attain the 2nd, 3rd, 4th level of enlightenment accomplish this and complete them and attain those levels. So this is therefore very, very important discourse. Now, he went on, what taints bhikkhus should be abandoned by seeing? Here bhikkhus, an untaught ordinary person who has no regard for noble ones is unskillful, undisciplined in their Dhamma, who has no regard for true men, and unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma. I rather use the word, rather than true men, good person. Nothing wrong in saying good person rather than true man, because Buddha has defined good person in a very beautiful way. You can understand its opposite is not good person, evil person or mean person. I like to, because this phrase or this sentence occurs in the Buddha's teaching many, many, many times. Asutva putujjano, Asutva putujjano, Aryanang adasya, Arya dhamme akovido, Arya dhamme avinito, Sappurisanang adasavi, Sappuris dhammas akovido, Sappuris dhamme avinito. These 6 phrases are repeated again and again in the Buddha's teaching. Therefore, we should know the definitions, the meaning of these 6 phrases and the qualities. Noble person, of course, noble person is Arya. Arya means those who have attained high level of enlightenment, like from the stream entry upward, they all are called nobles. And even among ordinary people who have not attained even the stream entry, so long as they have very deep faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha and observe at least 5 precepts in a very honest, sincere way, they still are good persons. So Buddha always defined good person as person who is very moral and ethical. Not in any other way he calls anybody good person. He may be doing lot of social work, lot of activities, lot of political work, lot of charitable work and so forth and so on. In the Buddha's terminology, in his definition, still he is not a good person. A good person is measured by the way he or she thinks, how clean and clear the mind is. So, even that person belongs to noble ones. But good person has these qualities. He or she has faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and moral shame. Some people don't like the word shame. I don't know why. We have to define it. Moral shame. Moral shame means shame to do wrong things. Wrong things means things that hurt oneself, hurt others, hurt both, is called wrong thing. Things that benefits oneself, benefits others, benefits both are called good things, moral things. So somebody who does not have shame will do harmful things to oneself, harmful to things others, and harmful to things both. And the person does not hesitate for a second to do wrong things. It's called moral shame. Inwardly person feel, person of my honor, my dignity, my education, my status, my maturity, my responsibility should not do these kind of things. That comes from a very high quality state of mind. That shame comes from that state of mind. Not shyness, shy to talk in public, shy to express one's views. That's not a shame. That is shyness. But the shame has a very definite meaning in the Buddha's teaching. That's called hiri. And the other is ottappa, fear of doing wrong things, fear of suffering later on. Later on the person will feel about what he has done and then feel so depressed, so disappointed, regret. For a long time the person will regret. Outwardly the person will be reprimanded and punished, either by law or by the society or by others. They will reprimand. So the moral dread is called ottappa, moral shame, shame of doing wrong thing is called hiri. So this person has these two qualities. First he has faith, second is hiri, or shame, third is fear. Fourth also is a very important quality, that is learned person. Not learned anything, but learned Dhamma. Why that person is the one who is learned Dhamma? Is a good person because that is the person who put the Dhamma into practice. One who learns the Dhamma and throw away the book and just use it for argument with others is not a good person. The one who learns the Dhamma and puts into practice, that is the whole purpose of learning. And so good person is a learned person because the person pulls out all the necessary information for one's own improvement, one's own ethical moral behavior, and so forth. And the fifth quality is that person is energetic, not lazy. Energetic to do what? not climb trees, not driving, not going to the office, not walking, but energetic to do the Dhamma work, to practice meditation, train one's own mind, discipline oneself, to get rid of all the mental impurities. One who makes effort to get rid of these things is called energetic person. Not this hypertension person, hyperactive, hypertension. That is not energetic, that is weakness. Then that person must be mindful. That's the sixth quality of a good person. Seventh quality is that person must be wise. So let me repeat these 7 qualities once again for your own record. Good person must have good faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, has moral shame, moral dread, learnedness, energetic, mindfulness, and wisdom. These are the 7 qualities. Then Buddha said, what this person do? What does he do? With the one who is endowed with 7 qualities, what does he do? He does 8 things. See, Buddha spelled out everything so systematically, so beautifully. All we have to do is to remember the list and put them into practice. He gave us all cut and dry. And that is why we don't appreciate it. If we earned it by ourselves, then we appreciate it. Since it comes very simply, somebody ate and digested and threw out, so you don't care for it. So, 8 things this person do. We are talking about a good person. Good person. Good person has 7 qualities. One who endowed with these 7 qualities does 8 things. What are the 8 things? This person associates with a good person. A person who has those 7 qualities. They are his friends, not others. And that person thinks well as a good person, thinks well. That's the second thing that person does. Third thing that person does is discusses things to bring peace and harmony, not to create disharmony, discordance and trouble. Fourth thing the person does is speak. If the person speaks individually, separately, in public, in private, whenever the person speaks as a good person. Good person always speaks with faith, with shame, with moral shame, moral dread, with learned attitude, with energetic mindfulness and wisdom. With these qualities, this person speaks. Fifth thing this person does is he acts as a good person. How does he act as a good person? When he speaks as a good person. What does he speak? He speaks the truth. He abstains from telling lies. He abstains from slanderous talk. He abstains from harsh words. He speaks meaningful things. He doesn't speak untruth, no musavada, no prisunavacha, no parusavacha, no sampappalapa. As a good person, that person speaks meaningful things. No, slanderous talk. He speaks to bring peace, bring people together. He doesn't say something, he doesn't hear something from there and comes and says things to create disharmony there, or hear something here and goes somewhere there and tells them to create disharmony here. The person always talks to bring harmony. When people are divided, that person tries to bring them together. When there is anger in somebody, he speaks to calm the person, like that. Truthfully, meaningfully, with friendly talk and so forth. He acts as a good person. That is the fifth thing he does. How does he act as a good person? He does not kill, he does not steal, he does not have misconduct in his thoughts, words and deeds. No misconduct in sensual pleasures. Then sixth thing he does is he holds right views. What are the right views that ordinary person holds? He believes there is what is given, atti dinna. What is offered, atti hutang. Atti dinnang, atti jittang. What is sacrificed, and atti karma vipako. There is fruit and results of good and bad actions. He believes there is this world and there is another world after death. He believes that there is mother and there is father. This is a very important belief. In some places, some societies, sometimes people forget that there is mother, there is father. So people who do not recognize mother and father behaves exactly like animals. If they recognize mother and give respect to mother, due respect to mother, and recognizes the father and gives due respect to father, that is Buddha called a blessed family, noble family. To do that, one must recognize mother and father. Mother and father may have their own weaknesses. That is not the children's concern. If possible, they try to correct their mistakes. If not, at least they must continue to pay their due respect to parents. And then he believes there are beings who are reborn spontaneously. That means some deities, some sun-sages, those beings born in dirty places, gutters and so forth, hellish beings and so forth, they are born spontaneously. They don't have mother and father. And he believes that there are good and virtuous recluses and Brahmins in this world who have realized for themselves by direct knowledge and declare this world and the other world. This is his right belief. That is number 6. Number 7, is this person gives gift as a good person. When the person gives a gift, that person gives a gift not as a bad person but as a good person, with those good person's qualities in mind. And the last thing this person does, it actually happens to that person after death, after disintegrating the 5 aggregates and after death, reappears in the destination of good persons. Naturally, when the person lives as a good person, after death will be reborn in place where good persons live. So all these are the things that are related to good person, Sappurusha. So Buddha said, Asutva putajano aryanang adasavi arya dhamma sakovido arya dhamma yavinito sappurishanang adasavi. The word sappurisa I mentioned, I explain now. Now let us go what he does. What he does is, Buddha said there are things unfit for attention. Buddha said, when we pay attention to things unfit for attention, unarisen taints arise, and arisen taints increase, and unwholesome wholesome things will not arise, arisen wholesome things will disappear. So this is how it happens. There are things such that when he attends to them, the unarisen taints of sensual desire arises in him, and the arisen taints of sensual desire increases. So this is one of the taints, sensual desire. And the second taint is unarisen taint of being arises in him, and arisen taints of being increases. That is the second taint. Being here means Bhavasava. Then the next thing happens is unarisen taint of ignorance arises in him, and arisen taints of ignorance increases. That is the third taint. The word taint is used for asava in Pali. Asava has been translated into English in many ways. This is one, taint. Asava means something that has been brewed for long period of time. Like brewing liquor or some concoction that is used as even medicine. You collect all kind of things and bury underground for a long period of time, and then it keeps brewing. And after a long period of time, it gives you real kick when you take out. Very strong. And people say, longer you keep the wine, the stronger and better it tastes. Because you kept on brewing. So, similarly, we have taints in our mind. Kama, Sava, for example, greed. It has been brewed from time immemorial up to this date, and therefore it has a very strong power. Like that is why it becomes a magnet to attract opposite chemistries or similar chemistries. So powerful. Similarly, Bhavasava, asava of becoming and asava of ignorance. So if you remember this definition of asava, you can understand how powerful it should be, and it is. And what are the taints fit for attention that does not attend to? Who does this? Unmindful person, one who does not associate with the right person, good person, does not listen to right person's Dhamma, doesn't listen to good person's Dhamma, does not care for right person, does not care for the good person. This is how that person pays attention to things that are unfit, and does not pay attention to things that are fit for attention. They are the things such that when he attends to them, the unarisen taint of sensual desire does not arise in him, and the arisen taint of sensual desire is abandoned. So first taint. Second taint is the arisen taint of being does not arise in him, and the arisen taint of being is abandoned. The unarisen taint of ignorance does not arise in him, and the arisen taint of ignorance is abandoned. These are the things for attention that it does not attend to. By attending to these, attend to things unfit for attention, by not attending to them, fit for attention, both unarisen taints arise in him and arisen taints increase. So remember, these two things are very important. These are called amanasikaraniya dhamma, amanasikatabba, manasikaraniya dhamma, manasikatabba. Amanasikaraniya dhamma, manasikaroto, such and such things happen. Manasikaraniya dhamma, amanasikaroto, such and such thing happen. That means things we should pay attention to, we do not pay attention to. And things we should not pay attention to, we pay attention to them. So these are the two things that the Buddha explained. Things that we should not pay attention to are this greed, becoming, and ignorance. And things we should pay attention to is non-greed, non-becoming, and wisdom. But because of our ignorance, we don't do that. So, Buddha went on explaining, this is how he attends unwisely. Was I in the past? Was I not in the past? What was I in the past? How was I in the past? Having been what? What did I become in the past? Shall I be in the future? Shall I not be in the future? What shall I be in the future? How shall I be in the future? Having been what? What shall become in the future? So, 5 for the past, 5 for the future, and there are 6 ways of thinking about the present. They are, or else he is inwardly perplexed about the present, thus, am I? Am I not? What am I? How am I? Where has this being come from? Where will it go? Now, you remember in Arya Pariyasana Sutta and Bodhiraja Kumara Sutta and so forth, in this, at least Mahasatchaka Sutta and so forth, in these discourses we read the Buddha's 3 kinds of knowledges. One is recollecting previous life. He recalled his previous life, and he said, my last life was like this, my name was like this, my color was like this, I ate this kind of food, my parents were like this, and so forth and so on. He recalled his previous life. 1, 2, 3, 4, and eons and eons of previous lives, all with all the minute details. And now he says in this discourse, this is unwise consideration, unwise thinking. Now he himself has done it when he attained enlightenment. And now he says, after attaining enlightenment, was I in the past? Was I not in the past? This kind of thinking is unwise. Why is that? Now, when the Buddha recalled his previous lives, he did not recall his previous life with the notion in his mind that it was this I, so-called I, that existed in the past. What he recalled in his previous life was these same 5 aggregates existed in the past. He thought in terms of aggregates, changing, impermanence, unsatisfactory, selfless phenomena existed in the past. Because he knew the Dhamma. One who does not know the Dhamma, does not associate with the noble person, good person, does not know Dhamma. Not knowing Dhamma, the person will think in terms of I, which does not exist. And therefore, that is unwise consideration for that person. If he has gained jhanas, right jhanas, and attained stages of enlightenment, and then think of the past existence, then that person will not think in terms of this I existing. The person will think in terms of aggregates existing, impermanent aggregates. That is the difference. Therefore, when such a person, without having such knowledge, were to think like this person end up with 6 kind of views. What are the 6? The view self exists for me, arises in him as true and established. I think this construction seems to be a little confusing to me. I would say the view self exists for me arises truly, arises, this view is true to him. He thinks, he truly believes in that, and he thinks it is permanent. So, self exists for me permanently and truly. He thinks the self exists for me truly, really, and permanently. No self exists for me arises in him truly, and that belief, he believes it is permanently existing. Now look at these terms. Then next is view that I perceive self with self. And fourth is I perceive not self with self. And fifth is I perceive self with not self. Now, belief in existing of self is not correct, is wrong. Belief that no self exists is also incorrect. Believing that the I perceive self with self also is not correct. Believe that I perceive not self with self is not correct. Believe that I perceive self with no self also is not correct. Why is that not correct? These are the ways he thinks that this is true and it is permanent. What the Buddha denied, we learn in Untitled Sutta, we learn the form is no self. And therefore the form cannot say, I see self with no self, I see no self with self, I see no self with no self, or I see self with no self, and so forth, cannot be attributed to form, because form itself is not a self. Same thing goes with feeling, perceptions, volitional formations and consciousness. But the person believes that it is true that self exists permanently and truly, and so forth. Then the sixth view is, that is sort of a definition of self. That is, it is this self of mind that speaks, feels and experiences here and there the results of good and bad actions. People normally ask, if there is no self, who experiences the result of good and bad? So somebody said, it is this I that experiences. So Buddha refutes even that, saying here, as it is a wrong belief, it is this self of mind that speaks and feels and experiences here and now, here and there, the results of good and bad actions. But this self of mind is permanent, eternal, permanent, everlasting, eternal, and not subject to change. And it will endure as long as eternity. And Buddha called all of them speculative views. No substance in them at all. And these speculative views, Buddha said, is called thicket of views, wilderness of views, contortion of views, vacillation of views, fetter of views. It's a very powerful statement, the way how Buddha denied the self. There is no room whatsoever to hold onto self. These are the very beautiful words, if you like to remember. Idang uccati bhikkhave ditti gatang. Ditti gatam is thicket of views. Ditti gahana, wilderness of views. Ditti kantaro, a contortion of views. Ditti visukang, vacillation of views. Ditti vipanditang. Actually, vacillation of view is ditti vipanditang. Ditti sangyojana, fetter of views. The word sangyojana is also used here for as ditti, and this is the one that is eliminated at the attainment of arahanthood, view of this view. And this is the one that one overcomes when one attains the stream entry, and overcome it by seeing, dasyanena pahatabba. The taints to be abandoned by seeing. And this is what one abandons when one attains the stream entry. Now there are 6 more to go. Let us have a little break, because if I continue like this, I believe you all fall asleep. You come up with the question after a short break. Okay? Okay, we start with restraint, abandoning by restraining. Of course, we always talk about restraint. When we talk about restraint, we refer to 6 faculties: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. They are called faculties because they are head of that area, chief of that area. For seeing, eye are chief, head, therefore eyes are called faculties. When these, we collectively call all of them as senses, 6 senses. And when 6 senses exposed to their respective sensory objects, either greed, hatred or delusion, jealousy, fear, worry, anxiety and so forth can arise. When they arise, mindfully we reflect them and cultivate the opposites, and not to get carried away with the negative states. That is how we restrain our faculties. And this is not any kind of people are afraid of the word control. They always like the word quality control. They don't want to control their own mental quality, but they want to control the external quality of external products. So for them it is all right to control the quality of external things. There is no anything negative there. But whenever we talk about controlling our inner mental quality, they have a question, because that is the very thing they don't want to do it. That is why they suffer so much. They don't want to control at all. They say controlling is suppressing, depressing and so forth. They always attach to various negative terms to deny that. And restraining is like filtering. You don't want garbage to enter the mind. You filter. And when you filter, all the dirt must stay in the strainer. And only pure things goes in. When you filter water, you leave all the sediment in the filter and get only clean water to drink. Similarly, when we restrain, that's what we do. We use our faculties to screen, select what is beneficial and what is harmful, and we leave harmful things outside, because Buddha said this mind is luminous. Because of the adventitious defilements, it becomes polluted. So we want to prevent the mind getting polluted by using this filter, which is called restraint. And nothing wrong with that. But if you simply become promiscuous and allow anything to happen, then you end up your life in a chaos. No control. And you say, I cannot control my mind. How can you control your mind when you have not done your preliminary necessary things to control it? The basic preliminary thing is to filter. Make your filter strong. And then you can control your mind. You can gain concentration. The whole purpose of doing all this is to gain good concentration and so forth. So this is the second way Buddha recommended very strongly, and this also is a part of our sila. Sila is, I translate that as sealant. When you have a crack, you seal it off so that draft will not come in and the insects will not come in, thieves will not come in, snakes will not come in. So this is a protective guard, sila. You protect inner quality of your mind. And that is why restraining is called sila. One of the silas, as we mentioned at the very beginning, there are samvara. One is restraining our senses, samvara sila. Next one, number 3, tends to be abandoned by using. This especially is recommended for the monastics who use 4 requisites: robes, food, lodging and medicine. 2 of them for internal maintenance, 2 for external maintenance. Robes and shelter for external protection, food and drink or medicine for internal protection. But all the 4 are supposed to be used mindfully. And this is how we do it mindfully. Referring to a bhikkhu, he said, here a bhikkhu, reflecting wisely, uses the robe only for protection from cold, for protection from heat, for protection from contact with gadflies, mosquitoes, wind, the sun, and creeping things, and only for the purpose of concealing the private parts. Now, these are the only purposes of wearing robes, not for a fashion show, not for display, not to decorate the body, to attract somebody. None of this, they are not looking for latest model. Use the same old 2600 years old model. Very expensive because it is very old model. Now it is out of fashion. But still very, very valuable. One day I was covering both the shoulders, went to Florida. Somebody took me to a shopping mall and there was a kind of receptionist girl. I was in my 40s, looked very young. She was looking at me without blinking her eyes as I was approaching. She said, "Where did you get this dress? I like to get one like this." So she saw that I was wearing the latest model. I said, "This is very expensive, oldest model. People don't make these kind of models anymore." So our purpose of wearing robe is very, very simple, very bare, basic purpose. Then food. He uses alms food neither for amusement, nor for intoxication, nor for the sake of physical beauty and attractiveness, but only for the endurance and continuance of this body, for ending discomfort, and for assisting the holy life, considering, "Thus I shall terminate all feelings without arousing new feelings, and I shall be healthy and blameless and shall live in comfort." Now, occasionally we hear some people try to correct the Buddha's statements, saying that amusement, the beauty and attraction has been incorrectly inserted here. It should be under the robes. But those who try to correct the Buddha have not realized that Buddha was very practical. He knew some people eat for amusement, eating contest. Some people do. They eat for pleasure, not for hunger, just for pleasure. And also some people eat to build up their muscles, to become very strong. People who want to, particularly bodybuilders, they eat very special food to build their muscles. This is not something new. Even in the time of the Buddha, people did that. And Buddha knew this. So Buddha, when he was giving the purpose of eating and reminding the bhikkhus why they eat, he did not forget to mention this, because that was the common practice even in his time. So this is not a mistake. So one who eats food with this kind of reflection, the person would not have room for creating desire, greed, clinging, craving for food. If you eat food for any other purpose, and also finally he mentioned this food is consumed for maintaining, supporting our celibate life, holy life, religious life. When somebody eats moderately, that person is very calm, relaxed, and easy to digest, maintain good health. Number 3 is using shelters. Reflect wisely, he uses the resting place only for protection from cold, for protection from heat, for protection from contact with gadflies, mosquitoes, wind, the sun, and the creeping things, and only for the purpose of warding off the perils of climate, and for enjoyment enjoying retreat. That's why we use shelters, and using medicinal things. He uses medicinal requisites for protection from arising afflicting feelings and for the benefit of good health. So, if he does not reflect mindfully, then fever might arise, vexation might arise, taints might arise, and so forth. So in order to avoid that, he eats mindfully. And also when somebody, particularly a monastic, goes to a forest, sitting under trees, and Buddha always recommended for the monastics to go to meditate under a tree, a solitary place, cemetery, abandoned house, cave, and so forth. When they live there, this kind of things can happen, such as the person may feel cold, heat, hunger, thirst, contact with gadflies, mosquitoes, wind, the sun, and sometimes creeping things. These things can invade his space. He endures ill-spoken, unwelcome words. This when he is with other beings, with the monastics or lay people, he may hear words other individuals unmindfully utter, ill-spoken words, unwelcome words, and arising bodily feelings that are painful, racking, sharp, piercing, disagreeable, distressing, and menacing to life. If the person is not mindful, then definitely taints can arise, vexation can arise, fever can arise. So when the person is mindful, taints, vexation, fever will not arise. The fifth method that they recommended is taints to be abandoned by avoiding. As you can see, here always remember the word reflecting wisely is always used. Restraining senses with mindful reflection, using requisites with mindful reflection, then enduring with mindful reflection, and abandoning with mindful reflection, not with unmindful reflection or frustration. Because this is the key word we started with. When we mindfully reflect, unarisen taints will not arise, arisen taints will disappear, unarisen wholesome things will appear, arisen wholesome things will develop. For these four purposes, we always do this training with mindfulness. So the mindfulness here is not something that you do only sitting in one place. For instance, when we hear people talk, get involved in conversations and so forth, you must remain mindful. And therefore the advice here is to practice mindfulness in every and all situations. And remember in Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha mentioned to be mindful and have clear comprehension, eating, drinking, walking, wearing clothes, and answering the call of nature, talking, observing silence and so forth. He gave the whole list of examples for us to remember, to practice mindfulness. And therefore this restraint, the method he recommended here are the method of mindfulness. Because taints arise at any given time, not only in sitting on a cushion. Taint arises any time. They unfortunately don't give us advance notice for us to prepare. When they arise all of a sudden, we must be on our guard to protect ourselves. What taints bhikkhu should be abandoned by avoiding? Here a bhikkhu, reflecting wisely, avoids wild elephants, wild horse, wild bull, wild dog, snakes, stump, bramble beach, patch, chasm, cliff, cesspool, sewer. These are the things one should avoid mindfully. Don't fall into a sewer unmindfully. Cesspool mindfully. It can happen when you walk looking around, looking away, not paying attention. This can happen. And some people say, all right, meditators can walk to lions, elephants, tigers, snakes. They can put them on their lap and so forth. Don't try to do that. Buddha advice, avoid them. Avoid them. Some people, in order to glorify their meditation teachers, they say, oh, lion came, he just stood in front of the lion. And lion came and sniffed and thought he was a meditator. I don't want to eat meditators. He went away. They say, elephant comes, they also think, I should not commit unwholesome karma by eating this meditator. So goes away. So they create all kinds of stories to glorify meditators. Buddha said, don't get into that trap. Avoid them. Don't fool yourself. Don't try to prove to the world that you are a very successful meditator and challenge these animals. Buddha was very practical, very compassionate, very realistic. Then the sixth thing we had to do is abandoning by removing. What do we remove? Here a bhikkhu, reflecting wisely, does not tolerate an irreverent thought of sensual desire. He abandoned it, removed it, does away with it, and annihilates it. Some people don't like the word annihilation because they don't want to annihilate them. Nothing wrong with annihilating hatred or sensual desires, ignorance. And Buddha very, very strongly advised us to annihilate them, eliminate them, remove them, abandon them, get rid of them, do away with them. And do it mindfully. Mindfully. And the last is the abandoning by developing. This is one of the questions somebody asked me the other day. Unfortunately, our time is very short. This is extremely important section which requires detailed explanation. However, our time is short. I like to go through it very quickly. These are called 7 factors of enlightenment. These 7 factors are very sort of summary of Buddhist meditation. In Samyutta Nikaya, there is a whole section dedicated to this, Bodhanga Samyutta, because it is so important. In mindfulness of breathing, there is an emphasis on this. 4 foundations of mindfulness. Mindfulness of the body, Kayagata Sati Sutta, and so forth. In many, many places, Buddha has very strongly recommended, advocated the practice of these 7 factors. Number 1 is mindfulness. Mindfulness factor of enlightenment. That is mindfulness we practice every day, not a whole lot, not too many hours sitting in one place and so forth, but see the previous 6 ways of abandoning, overcoming taints, all do with mindfulness. See, mindfulness runs from the very beginning of this discourse. In order to abandon our taints, we practice mindfulness. As I said, we practice it not only in sitting in one place, but in every waking moment if possible. And let it build up. Mindfulness keeps building up, building up, building up, building up, slowly and gradually, bit by bit, little by little. It grows and grows and grows, continues to pile up until it becomes a factor of enlightenment. The enlightenment factor of mindfulness is not something different from the mindfulness practice we practice in 4 foundations of mindfulness, mindfulness of breathing, mindfulness of the body and so forth. That mindfulness and this mindfulness are not 2 different kinds of mindfulness. This is the stage where the mindfulness practice comes to perfection, comes to a level of opening our mind to enlightenment. Therefore it becomes a limb of enlightenment, and therefore it is called enlightenment factor of mindfulness. So that is to be developed. As I said, in every possible way, in our thoughts, words, deeds, sitting, standing, walking and so forth, in every moment. Develop it. And finally it comes to this. And that is the initial stage of these 7 stages of practice or development. Second is, very important function of mindfulness is investigation. That is the second enlightenment factor to be developed. When we practice mindfulness is not some kind of practice sitting in one place and focusing mind on the breath all the time. That is not mindfulness. That is preparing the mind to gain concentration. In this exercise, mindfulness also is to be brought in. Even paying attention to the breath, mindfulness must be brought into it. When we read Buddha's sutras, we can see the way, many different ways that Buddha has recommended to practice mindfulness. And investigation is a part of mindfulness, we must say, because when we reflect mindfully what we do, when we say mindful reflection means, what do we do? The very word reflection, what does reflection means? Developing thoughts. Thoughts in the right direction. Words are involved, thinking is involved in this investigation. So sometimes I call talking meditation, thinking meditation, reflecting meditation. All these are part of investigation done with mindfulness. So as the mindfulness becomes a factor of enlightenment, its next inevitable step is perfecting investigation. Asking questions, inquiring, looking deeply inside. And then, when we investigate what happens, we arouse unremitting energy. Energy becomes very active, we become very energetic. Not, as I mentioned earlier, any kind of hypertension, hyperactivity. But this energy is to see the Dhamma even more deeply, more profoundly, more clearly, knowing, seeing the meaning of every word of the Dhamma inside ourselves. The more we see, more we want to see. The deeper we go, the deeper, still deeper we want to go. And that is how the energy arises from the investigation. As you know, ordinary investigation, when they go out, investigate, the private investigators, they keep asking questions. Then they find little clue. They say, let us go that time. Then ask more questions. Ask more questions, and then something else comes up. Something is opening. Something is coming up. Let us go there. So that is the nature of investigation. So what happens when we investigate? We become more and more energy to look into the truth more and more deeply and more clearly. This is not just a blind faith, not the blind faith, but sharpening, deepening our understanding. That makes us more and more energetic. It becomes factor of energy, factor of enlightenment. Then what happens? When you have lot of energy and more things you see, you are so glad. That is how joy factor of enlightenment arises. Piti sambojjhanga. Piti. Joy. It is not boring, tiring, that repetition. It is not monotonous. It is a very joyful thing, because when you see the truth, you become full of joy. And the joy becomes so powerful, and this joy factor of enlightenment makes you calm and relaxed and tranquil. Passaddhi sambojjhanga. Passaddhi means joy does not make you agitated, excited. Joy makes us more calm, relaxed, and you are spiritually mature. When the mature person, always one thing you see in the mature person is settling, calming, relaxing, taking it easy, watching. Not immature, like immature person. You see, the more immature you are, more active you are, agitated, excited, running around here and there. Like look at the children. Look at children. Immature. They are so hyper-tensed, running around with this and a bunch of energy. But look at you. More grown up, settled, educated, mature. That kind of spiritual growth we can see in the tranquility, calm, relaxed and peaceful. That gives you concentration. This is the sequential order of these 7 factors of enlightenment. There's a sequence of development. That is why it is called development. When tranquility arises, you gain concentration. There is no sukha sambojjhanga. There is pita sambojjhanga, then passaddhi sambojjhanga. From piti, from joy, we bypass sukha, happiness, because piti is strong enough to make the mind calm, relaxed and peaceful. Piti and sukha has nothing to do with agitation and excitement, as normally people understand it. Normally when people say that they are happy, they are agitated, they are excited. When they say they are full of joy, they are agitated, excited, run up and down, laugh, cry, smile and do all sort of active things. But here, gradually and slowly calming, relaxing, peaceful, and then gain concentration. Samadhi sambojjhanga. When you gain concentration, your body and mind are so in equipoise. That is why equanimity factor of enlightenment arises. Everything is balanced. So you don't go off balance. Like a scale, you remain very peaceful. That is how we develop, and as we go through this process, our taints of greed, taints of becoming, taints of ignorance, slowly being chipped off, gradually fades away and attain enlightenment. So, that is this discourse, and this afternoon we start with Vitakka Sandhana Sutta, where Buddha has given 5 methods of removing distracting thoughts, and we will discuss that this afternoon.